seeing the world, and it just, you get to take on this creative challenge.
Okay, but just how does street photography make any money?
How street photography makes money is one of those questions that you're going to get asked a lot, but it's also a question that a lot of street photographers are asking themselves. It can seem like everyone other than you is making it as a full-time artist, and when you're just starting out or trying to grow, there's no clear path towards making this a career. Nobody seems to want to talk about money, and if you're not careful, you could end up blaming yourself and your work. Well, I have some good news and some bad news, but don't worry, because by the end of this video, you'll probably feel better. You know, like in The Matrix when Neo eats the cookie. I'll let you in on a secret. Nobody is making money from selling their street photos. No one. In the commercial photography world, every single recognizable person in the photo has to have signed a model release before you can stick your B2B SaaS company's logo on top and use it for advertising. And if you've done some street photography, you'll know that the chances of getting everyone in your shot to sign a model release are slimmer than Flat Stanley. And you might be thinking, okay, but you don't need a model release for a lot of editorial stuff like press photography. And that's sometimes true, but there are a couple of teeny weeny little problems with that. First of all, press photography is extremely competitive, and sometimes selling your photo can come down to being 10 seconds faster than the next guy. And in reality, being at the right place in the right time is something that kind of only happens once in a blue moon when you get lucky, so it's not exactly something you can rely on. It's more like a side hustle. So if street photographers can't make a living commercially, you might think that the holy grail lies in the art world. And it's true that some street photographers have done really well from gallery shows and photo books, but there's a catch. I think one of the most popular street photography books probably ever is All That Life Can Afford by Matt Stewart. It's an amazing book, and this is the part where I would put some footage of my copy if it wasn't in a suitcase in another country. It's an amazing book. It's on its 3rd edition, I think, and I'm sure that Matt Stewart is happy with the money it's made him. But All That Life Can Afford took Matt Stewart 13 years to complete. Art takes a long time, and art doesn't care that your rent is monthly.
How long is this going to take?
You can't rush art.
And even if you do get a book deal and make loads of money from it, if you think about all of the time that you spent to make that book and then break it down into an hourly rate, it can make working at Big Tesco look pretty great. All of that seems a bit depressing, but it's not so over, and we are in fact so back. It's not all doom and gloom. So how do they do it then? Well, unless you're supported by the Mum and Dad Fund, which is more common than you might think, you have to figure out how to add value in a different way. Historically, most of the big boys in street photography were career photojournalists, but since journalism and really the whole media industry is having a bit of a midlife crisis right now, that's a less viable option these days. One viable option for me would be if you subscribe to the channel, and while you're at it, why not check out the merch store, link below. Think about this, what competitive advantage do street photographers have? We're extremely creative. It's a hard skill to get good at, and it means that street photographers are excellent creative professionals. While 99% of us don't make our rent money from street photography, loads of street photographers do from their commercial photography, or portraiture, or weddings, or videography. But it's not just other camera-related jobs. I know loads of street photographers who are extremely talented and successful web designers or publishers or art gallery curators or printers. Now, this doesn't mean you need to go and get a job. Far from it. Creative professionals are by far the best suited people to freelancing or running your own small business or digital nomading. Although there's definitely something to be said from keeping your creative practice very separate from your job. Needing to be an artist to pay the bills and put food on the table changes things in a very dramatic way, and it can lead to burning yourself out way faster. For me, I worked in loads of different jobs over the years before I joined the dark side and became a YouTuber. But my last job was as a cameraman for a media agency doing boring tripod corporate stuff. And while that wasn't particularly creatively fulfilling, it did mean that I got to spend all day behind a camera or behind DaVinci Resolve. And it put food on the table. Now, you might be upset to hear that you can't become a full-time professional street photographer, but in a way, that's a really good thing. Imagine if there was demand for selling street photos and there was profit to be made. All of a sudden, everybody with a Canon T3i would be out on the streets, annoying everybody. Fake and staged shots would be a massive problem, and street photography would become intensely exploitative. The fact that you can't really make any money from street photography is a really good thing, because what it means is that the people who do go out and dedicate their weekends, their lunch breaks, and their morning commutes aren't doing it for money or fame. They're doing it for the love of the game, and I think that is way cooler. If you would like to improve your street photography, or you're just getting started, I made you a video about some things you probably shouldn't do. You can watch it here. Stay hydrated and create art.